Welcome to the third episode of our podcast already. Time's flying, as they say. So this is now the third episode we are starting now. We've had some interesting topics previously. Now we are finally gonna address our nighttime story, our little lockup at school, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Barney,
Yeah,
as
Barney.
usual.
as usual, as usual. Man, let's just jump straight into it. Like I pinky promised, the lockup at Stanton NHL.
Yeah.
Um, in a nutshell, we basically spend 24 hours inside school. We have in school in Stende, we have our own sort of the living room, central perk. It's sort of a classroom at the ground floor where we have our living room and our couch and everything. And we decided that as for media and for content and just for having fun and see if we could do it, I wanted to host like a 24-hour live stream lockup in Central Perk. And I sent some emails to some people from school, and eventually I got the green light, which was awesome. And because I already had some of these microphones and podcast stuff and this and that, I set it up in the living room. And first, I was gonna do it with Joas. It was gonna be me and Joas for 24 hours in the living room, but Joas unfortunately eventually couldn't be there because he had like exams the same week or something. And he wanted to study in the living room while doing it, but eventually he changed his mind, didn't want to do that, which I completely understand because he had his exams and he if he was to join in, he couldn't sleep all night and stuff like that. So then, in a small panic, I had to get someone else to join me because I really didn't feel like going to do it solo because it gets kind of lonely in 24 hours. And I asked Joas if he could find someone else who wanted to do it with me. And he found you, Barney. And back then, we knew each other. You didn't,
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
yeah, you didn't work at Central Perk yet. You were more just there a lot of the times. You were involved in some stuff already as well. And it was awesome because that way we already got to know each other really well through that event.
Yeah.
So what it
Definitely.
basically was at daytime. At what time did we start again? Like
I think you guys
12
started
o'clock.
around 6 or 7. Is it right?
Um, I'm not sure actually. Didn't we start the stream earlier, like 12 o'clock midday or something?
Oh, what? Really?
I think so, because the day after when we were done. Um, no, wait, I don't remember actually. I think we started somewhere midday. Anyway, we it was just the two of us, and we were there. We had the table set up with the microphones, and we went live on Facebook. And even Suksawat, the Dutch Leeuwarden blog newspaper I mentioned previous episode, they picked up on it as well, and they shared the live stream. So that was pretty cool. It was just us two, and we just had to figure out what we were gonna do for 24 hours. And you kind of underestimate 24 hours. It sounds like it's just a day, but once we were in there and we were like, well, we got like 20 hours left, then it started to sink in for how long we would have been there.
Yeah. So what I remember that I joined to you around 7 or 8, I think, because on that day I actually worked somewhere, I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I joined you, and yeah, it was really fun. Uh, in the beginning, we were really hyped, and enthusiasm was on the top, Um, yeah, we actually had quite a few audience, friends,
Yeah, some people,
family.
family especially. Yeah. Also,
Yeah,
I remember now what you mentioned. You joined later because I started the stream at around 2, I think, with Joas because Joas could still be there for the day, but he just didn't want to
yeah,
spend the night there. So I started the
yeah,
stream with Joas. We had some talks about his military history and some stories he had about that. And then at around 6 or 7, no, 8 o'clock, I think. Yeah, that 7 or 8.
yeah,
That's when you joined and Joas went home and you sort of took over.
yeah,
Yeah, and it was quite funny because at the beginning, it was like you said, we were quite hyped and we had some energy and it's going to be so much fun and this and that. And then eventually we were still just non-stop live on Facebook. And I remember at our peak times in like the evening, something like 9 or 10 o'clock, we had about 15 viewers, I think, something like that. And
Yeah,
that was
so
like the record-breaking number for us. It was awesome. Most of it was your family from Hungary, but it
yeah,
was so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. But it was nice that I also got to know, some board games, and we watched
Oh
some
yeah,
fun
man.
videos.
I
So it was fun, yeah.
I brought that Dungeons and Dragons game, not the Dungeons and Dragons game itself, but sort of like a simpler card game that we played. And
Yeah.
I played some Xbox, some Far Cry. But the coolest thing was though, once it was about 10 o'clock, I
Your
think.
outfit, your outfit.
My outfit, of course, yeah, my onesie, my dragon onesie. It's
Yeah.
the green lizard suit. But as soon as it was like 9 or 10 o'clock and the school started closing down, I think for me that was the coolest because that was the turning point that when we weren't just in school, but we were actually locked up because the school was closed down, all the lights were off, everyone was gone, and we were just sitting there in this living room playing video games and watching movies in the school. And we had this entire area in front of the living room for us as well because it sort of was locked off to the cafeteria and the rest of the school. So we had this pretty big sort of our own personal open yard area where we could just walk around and stuff. And
Yeah.
the lights in that area were motion sensors. So I remember the first time the lights went off, it was about 12 o'clock, I think. We were just sitting there and talking and watching whatever, and all of the lights in the school went off, and we were like, "Hold up, are they gonna come back on? What's this? What's this?" So we went outside of the room, and the lights didn't go on, and we were sort of exploring our own school in the darkness, and then the lights popped up, and we were like, "Oh shit, there's someone!" But obviously, it was us that triggered the lights.
Yeah, yeah. It was totally surreal experience.
Yeah, very much. It
Yeah.
just
And then do you remember that we actually played some game, like we threw like balls or something, like ping pong?
Oh yeah, but we had two of those sort of table tennis bats and this
Yeah,
little rubber ball, and we started passing that in the hallway and stuff. Yeah, but like you said, it was just surreal. It was very strange. It had like an eerie, apocalyptic kind of feeling. You know what I mean? Like
Just like what we're experiencing now, right?
yeah, kind of yeah. Like how the streets are empty and everyone's at home, and
Yeah.
it's this apocalyptic feeling. And it had the same thing when we were there during the night.
Yeah,
And
it was definitely really weird that we, just two of us, like
oh yeah,
you
man.
never get that in school.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was so cool. Like people asking, "Oh, why are you spending 24 hours in school? Why would you do that?" Well, I mean, it's not something I would prefer to do, but if you get the opportunity to do something like that, I mean, why not? I can say that I've spent 24 hours in school and slept there.
Yeah.
Especially since I didn't really think I would get the green light from school itself, for safety reasons and
Okay.
stuff like
So it,
that. But
so it was a surprise for you as well.
yeah, kind of, because I came up with the idea and we started sort of planning it out and seeing what we needed, and I emailed some people, and at first obviously the first answer you get is, well, but what about the safety of the students? All about safety, safety, safety. And I explained it to them that it's just you and me in one location. We're not going to roam the school or anything like that. And I sat down with this guy that was supposed to. He had the final say in if we could or couldn't do it,
Hmm.
and it was quite a good conversation. And he was very open to it. And he said, if you guys think you can do it and you can guarantee your own safety in here, that they're not responsible for it, then it should be all right. So we got the green light, and that's when I started to really get hyped, because like I said, did expect it to happen. That's why I
Yeah.
wanted to do it as well, because when you get the chance to do something like that, just do it. It's good stories, it's good experience and stuff, and it
Yeah.
was just fun.
We can do it one more time.
Oh
Not
yeah,
one
man.
time,
We'll
but
do it again. We'll do it again, and this time some more planning, some more things to do. Because I
yeah.
remember at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you get a bit sleepy. You go across this sleep threshold. You really start
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
break down.
Especially since, if we don't have any audience, then it's much
Yeah,
more harder because if you see somebody's watching, then you actually have more energy, I guess,
yeah, definitely.
to like give them like some kind of entertainment or something.
Yeah, that was hard because obviously during 2 and like 7 a.m. there was no one watching. I mean, we were still live and anyone could check in on it, but there was just no one watching, which I understand obviously, but it was still pretty funny to see. And problem was to just stay awake during those times because at 4 or 5 a.m. there was just no one in the school, no sound. It was still dark outside. You would just get sleepy, sleepy, sleepy. But then eventually, during about 6 a.m., I think, it became bright outside again, and that's when you get more energy. You start to live out a bit more. And at I think 7 a.m., I think the first cleaners came in, and you see them walking through the hallway, looking inside this room where they see
Yeah,
two
yeah,
sleepy students
and
and shit.
also and also if you remember, yeah, around 7 or half past 7, also the students, hospitality students
Oh
started
yeah,
to come, to like prepare the kitchen, prepare the
because
canteen.
the next day was like an open day at school, so early in the morning there was tons of like helping students in t-shirts from school building up stalls and like you said making the
Wait,
food as well.
was it an open day? Okay,
Yeah,
could be.
I would not necessarily an open day, but something like a job market or a minor market, something like that.
Wasn't it like a study start week? I think it was.
Yeah, you're right.
For
Yeah,
the
you're right.
February started, it was a study start week.
Yeah, it was study
Yeah.
start week. So very early in the morning, there was lots of students, building stuff in school, and we were these two sleepy old hermit men in this room, just coming out, peeking outside the window, like, what are all these kids doing in our front yard? We're trying to sleep here. But yeah, and everyone was just looking at us funny because who the fuck are these guys coming out of this room in their pajamas almost?
Yeah.
I did actually sleep for like 30 minutes, I think, just a quick power nap at 6 a.m. or something. I think you too, right?
Yeah, I also got
So
some.
we sort of
Yeah, a few
broke
hours,
our
I
own
think. Yeah,
rules,
one or
but
two. Yeah.
we had to. And then eventually, at I think 12 o'clock, it was done. It was over. The stream was over, and that was also the grand opening of Central Perk on the same day.
Oh yeah.
So in the morning, around 11 or something, the rest of the Central Perk team came in, and they were preparing for the grand opening, putting on food and cleaning up a bit because it had this gamer sweat smell that was hanging in the room for just spending so much time in there. And I remember I was so exhausted and I could finally go home. It was about 2 o'clock. We fixed more stuff for the grand opening, and the rest of the team stayed there. And I went home to sleep. But you stayed there, and you stayed
Actually, I
there.
stayed there,
Yeah.
and even though I had like a PPD talk as well. So basically, it was like we finished at 12. I had the meeting at 1, and then I went back.
Yeah, and then you went back and you helped with the open day, and you
Yeah.
actually stayed there the entire day. And then in the evening, you even went out with Joas, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Crazy man.
I think I almost no, I think it was for me also was 2024 or like close to 24.
Yeah, probably because
So yeah.
you didn't sleep at all, and you even went out. It just made me feel very old comparing that to you. I just wanted to go home and sleep, man. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think we'll definitely do something like that again to get some more exposure again and learn
Yeah,
from our
definitely. Especially
previous
now
mistakes.
because we are like building our community,
Yeah, we're growing.
and we have more people who actually know us. So I think it's getting better. It will be easier for us as well.
Yeah, and we could get some
That
interesting guests
we
maybe
will
come
have
over.
more audience. Yeah.
Yep, and until then, we'll let people know for the next stream.
Yeah. So actually, you mentioned Powernap, right?
Yep, for
So
I'm very bad
yeah,
at
yeah.
power napping.
So there is an interesting thing or topic that we are working on right now in X Honors,
Awesome.
which is also a place and the community for students
Yep.
where we are able to do side projects beside our school stuff.
Yeah.
And one of our project is a power nap chair actually, and creating like for now we can only do like a research,
Yeah.
but we were supposed to get actually these chairs that makes you like you can sleep on them or
Mhm.
in them and they actually kind of wave you, give you a little bit of wave so you can sleep better and sleep
Mm.
more
Like a
faster.
light massage chair kind of idea.
um so basically it builds on the motion of what you feel or however you felt when you were in your mother's
Ah,
belly,
okay,
you
I
know?
get it. Yeah.
So basically, the idea is that thing, and it wakes you up just before you enters in the REM
Ah,
sleep
I
mode.
see. So you wake up more
So
energized instead of more
yes,
exhausted.
so yeah, yeah. So basically, it's literally a power nap, gives you a power nap more efficiently. Yeah, so it's a
That's
really
cool, man.
interesting thing that we are going to
And
like
that's that,
test also next year.
and that's like a chair that you and ex-owners are now working on. So you got like the concept and all the theoretical stuff handled, and now you guys just basically have to build it, I guess.
No, no, no. The stuff is built.
Really?
So we are working with a company who actually has these chairs,
Ah,
and they work with us because obviously they want to sell them to
yeah.
the school.
Ah,
So
yes. Get
so that's the
get all
thing.
those
So
lazy
for that,
students in the cocoons to sleep and energize.
so for that we need to provide research and like any kind of test to the school to to like prove that it works.
Hmm.
So they actually
Okay.
buy some.
That's pretty interesting though,
So
because
yeah, so
okay.
if you think that whenever we like looking for students, maybe I can drop your name.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm into those
So
things. Like I
yeah,
love
yeah, yeah,
testing new things and
yeah.
and
It's a really interesting
trying those
thing,
things.
and obviously what we are going to do is to focus on these tests before and after test week. So
Oh, okay.
we just want to. I mean, it's really hard to measure like pressure and anxiety and this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But
Oh, so you want to use the students that have a test week as sort of like a test group to see if they
yes.
maybe
So for
improve
example,
their
let's
scores
imagine.
or become more relaxed while making a test and stuff.
Yes, definitely. So
Ah.
imagine like you have a test at 2 o'clock, then you come to us at 1 o'clock,
Mhm.
you make a power nap,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
then we ask you after that how you felt during the exam. Like, do you think you were able to succeed more or
That'd be
less?
awesome, man. That'd be
So
really cool.
yeah, it's a
Just
really interesting thing.
basically take a nap and increase your scores if it all works as it should work.
Yeah, I mean it has two sides or several sides because it's really hard, because whether you create the test or you make the test,
Yeah.
and then how we actually know that it was because of the power nap,
Yeah.
or we don't know
It could even be a placebo.
how would you performed.
Like
Yes,
people could
definitely.
even say like, yeah, I did way better, even though he probably didn't, but he thinks he did
Yeah,
way better because he slept.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's difficult. And
So
also like a difficult thing that could is it like a real chair or is it more of a cocoon or like a standing bed? How should I picture it?
uh,
What could I compare it
uh,
to?
it's a bed. I think it's a bed.
Okay.
So you know those little beds that like small children sleep in.
I guess. Yeah, yeah.
And it has like
Like a fence around it.
on the top. No, 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 no. Yeah, kind of, but on the top it has like I don't know what is it called. Okay,
You mean like a maxi cozy? Those little
do you know
what?
what I'm talking? No?
No. Google it. Google it in
Uh,
in your own language. Find it and send me the picture.
no. Okay.
Here you're taking a picture.
And I'm talking about like that thing.
Okay, hang on.
I mean it. Yeah, it's chair slash bed. I don't know. Yeah.
So it's yeah okay. So it's just let's just call it a napping station. It doesn't it compare to anything else. It's a napping cocoon. It's funny that you mentioned this because I remember in I think 2 modules ago we had a sort of a workshop about design thinking and stuff like that. And there was a guy that gave us a presentation, and I think he had the exact same idea. There was like a sort of a napping, power nap, chair, blanket, station, cocoon kind of thing that would energize you and this and that. And he was pretty far in the development stages. He had the concept and he showed it to some investors, and I don't think it actually worked out for him. I don't remember really why because it's a while ago, but it was funny because he had basically the exact same idea. So people are thinking about this idea, and I think it's still a very important thing to develop because especially now, everything is just moving so fast and fast, and I think there's also a lot of statistics showing that a lot of younger people have so much trouble sleeping that if you would be able to just take a quick nap for even 30 minutes or so and just re-energize would be very important and would really help a lot of people. But have you guys, for example, also looked at what the effect could be on the night sleep then? Because, for example, if you sleep 7 hours every night, you have a great night's sleep, and you function well. What effect does it have to take a strong power nap in the midday on your night sleep? Do you know? Or
Yeah, so we are not that far in the research.
mm-hmm.
We are like basically in the really beginning.
Yeah,
But whenever we have some movement or anything that is tangible research,
yeah,
I can tell you about the update.
yeah, man. Because I think it's really
Because
interesting.
yeah, definitely.
Because
So yeah.
because myself, man, I sleep so bad. I'm the worst at sleeping. Cause and it could be because I play a lot of games and I keep my mind very active during the night. I don't really give myself a cool down
Rest.
period, if you know what I mean, to go to
Yeah.
bed. And even when I'm in bed, like for example, I finally go to bed at for let's say 1 o'clock in at night. Then I lay in my bed and then I'm still quite awake. So what do? I go on my phone on YouTube and go down this YouTube rabbit hole of
Right.
of videos that you end up on this strange video on why giraffes' necks are so long or some shit, and that's just this routine that I get into, and I sleep really bad, and I always slept very light for myself. So for example, if I finally do sleep, you could open my door or from the other side of the room just whisper my name, and just like that I'm awake. It
Oh,
takes very little to wake me up, and that also really sucks. So a lot of the time I'm very exhausted, and it's even
oh,
funny. I had this in middle school as well, and everything. All of my teachers that I've ever had will all tell you that whenever I was in class, I would sit way in the back and just sleep on my desk on my arm, because I was always so tired at school, and I hated it that you had to get to school so early and stuff. So that's why I'm so happy that now on Stenden, most of the classes on HBO studies they're very late and stuff. But I was
yeah.
always very sleepy, and I think I could really benefit from one of these beds. So whenever it's ready, hook me up, because I'm your first customer.
Yeah, definitely you can, but I mean there are other stuff that you also mentioned why you sleep like that.
Hmm.
So so what I could suggest, like, don't use any kind of device like before like 1 hour when you planning to go to sleep,
Yeah,
and that would definitely help because I am kind of do this every day, and also I don't use my phone whenever I wake up for like at least 1 hour.
that's good.
It helps to like start the brain a little bit better and like different.
Hmm.
But the thing is that I also, for example, last night or no, before the last night, I had to do some project, and I didn't have time during the day, so I did it late night,
Yeah,
and I finished around like 11:30 or something, and then most of the time I go to bed at midnight, so I didn't have that 1 hour rest or something.
yeah, that's true.
So I actually felt that my head is still like really active, or my brain is really going and
Hmm.
like thinking. So that would, I think, really help if you put down these kind of devices like at least 1 hour before you go to bed.
Yeah.
Or the thing that also helps, that try to go to bed and wake up at the same time. So
What do
like
you mean?
your like, what is it called, like body, like there's like a body clock or something.
Oh yeah, you just your
um
biological clock.
yeah, yeah. And if you actually go to bed at the same time
Oh, like
and
that. Yeah, I
wake
know what
up
you
at the
mean.
same time,
Yeah, I've had that
so
for a
what
couple
I
of
do is
times.
like I go to bed at midnight and get up at 9 every time.
Like a
So
routine.
my
Yeah, it works.
yeah, so my body actually knows when to function, you know
The problem with all these things is you are 100% right, but none of these work if you don't have any discipline. and I'd have zero discipline. And especially now with the quarantine, there's no just to put it dry, there's no reason for me to get up. There's no reason for me to go to bed early. There's no reason for me to stick to a schedule because I mostly, for most of my grown up life, so to speak, I've been living in the evening. You know what I mean? Like most of the things
Mhm.
I do at evening. Um, I used to go to bed at like 3, 4, 5 a.m. sometimes, like a couple of years ago. Not anymore now, but because now I'm old and, and grumpy. But I always went to bed really late and got up really late as well. I do
Yeah.
try. The only thing I do try now is I want to get at least out of bed before 11 a.m. And that sounds like very late, but for me, that's an accomplishment, so to speak. You know, like I don't want to waste my day because I went to bed very late. I always want to get up at least
Yeah.
before 11. So that's something I'm
Yeah.
doing. But for the rest, I try to go to bed around 12 or 1. But if I'm doing something fun or watching a movie or a series, I don't mind going to bed at like 5 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
'Cause
But at least you are like self-aware about what you should or what
oh
you
yeah,
could
man.
improve about yourself. So maybe one time,
I
you're gonna have the discipline.
I know, man. I
But the
really
thing
should.
is that if you like, at least you know, but then you shouldn't also complain that you are
Hmm.
tired,
No,
because
definitely, man. You're right.
you know,
Like I
yeah,
know exactly what I'm doing wrong and what I should be doing. So, for example, yeah, I at night I play a lot of games, and games keep your mind very active because you have to focus and stuff like that. When I go to bed, scroll my phone for at least half an hour, sometimes even longer. I watch series before I go to bed. When I wake up in the morning, I just stay in my bed for at least another hour until I'm awake and scroll my phone again, you know. And it's all these little things that I know contribute to having a poor night's sleep. But the problem is just I don't really have the discipline to change that. And also, obviously because I smoke weed, and weed in the beginning helps with sleeping. For me at the beginning it was kind of like a magic key because I always had quite a lot of trouble with sleeping, and then I started to smoke weed and I could sleep like a baby. It was amazing. But after a while you will not necessarily get dependent on it, but it sort of does a 180 switch on you that once you start sleeping without having smoked marijuana first, you sleep even worse than you did before you started smoking marijuana. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's
I
this
had also some friends.
yeah, and that's this cycle that you get into. And I try to prevent myself to get into the cycle, so I don't smoke every night before I go to bed. But I know that if I stop doing that, it will definitely help again with my sleeping schedule. I've already thought about some very radical changes that I think, for me, okay, I don't have any discipline, so I know for myself, in order for me to do something, I have to eliminate uh, the option to do it. So I've already looked into my smartphone. I have a very old phone, like a Sony Ericsson. It's not necessarily a smartphone, it's a touchscreen, but very old. And I thought, what if I put my SIM card in that phone so I can only use my phone for WhatsApp, email, like necessary stuff. It's too small for YouTube and stuff like that, so I can't do that. That could work for me, but the phone didn't really work out, so I'm not doing that. Another thing I thought about is what I've done sometimes a couple of years ago was just get my computer and just unplug it and put it in like my shed or something. Just don't get myself even be able to turn it on, you know what I mean? And that kind
Yeah,
of works for me, but then I always find something else to replace that wasted time
yeah.
with.
But then you take away what you really like.
Exactly, and that as
What
well.
what what makes you happy? I mean the thing is that it's okay. The problem is not that you play video games, but maybe that you play it in the wrong time or you play it too much, right?
Yes.
So
But that's the thing
yeah,
as well.
it's just the limit, or
It's
yeah,
it's difficult because if you are a gamer, usually you have a lot of online gamer friends, And most of the people they work during the day, they have school during the day, so most of your online friends are online during the evening and nighttime. So that's when
yeah,
you mostly play the games as well. You always heard that just one more game, just one more game, and nah, guys, I gotta go to bed. It's 1 o'clock. Nah,
one
man,
more
one more
win,
game,
one
one
more
more,
win.
one more win. And then you keep on playing, and I don't want to give up that because, for example, if something like that happened and the next day I had early school, I would go to bed. I'm not um, that bad. But if, like in quarantine right now, tomorrow I don't have anything planned yet, so I could just play games all night if I wanted to, and I wouldn't really feel bad about it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
to come back to what you said, you are right that I shouldn't complain about being tired if I know why I'm tired and I'm not doing anything about it. And that's kind of the quarantine routine that I am in, and I'm sure more people can relate to lazy students.
yeah. What about like glasses that prevents you from,
Oh,
you know,
the
those
filters, the blue light
yellow?
filters or red light.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Would do you think that those would help?
I think it does. I have it on my computer installed. It's called Twilight. It sort of dims all the blue lights and it gives this red filter on your screen. And
Okay.
it the funny thing is, I have it on my laptop as well, and I use my laptop for all my schoolwork. And the funny thing is, on my laptop, it goes to the like this red filter, but it does it very, very slowly. Like the later it gets during the night, the more red it gets. So sometimes in the evening, I'm working on my school stuff on my laptop, and on Word, on Word you have just this one giant white bright sheet of paper on your screen, so it's very bright. But because the filter is on, I don't notice it. So I get used to the red filter on because it so gradually increases. After a while, like for example, it's 11 o'clock, and I think, oh, my screen is really red when I start to notice it. And then I press the button to disable it, and it disables the filter, and my screen just becomes this giant white flashlight in my eyes because I'm so used to the red light that gradually
Yeah.
increased that I notice how bright it is if you don't have the filter on. So I'm sure that it definitely works because you get used to it. Your eyes are way more relaxed and not as stressed as they should be. But then again, coming back on the no discipline, for example, on my main computer, I play video games. I don't want to play video games with a red filter on it, so I just disable it all the time until I'm done with playing video games. So
No,
that
but what
defeats the
I was
purpose.
actually saying is like an actual glass
So, you,
on your head.
okay, so you mean just actually physically putting on like a filtering glasses?
Yeah, I mean, there are some like gamer glasses that
Mm-hmm.
gamers use,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in for this like prevention thing.
I think it could work, but I think it could only work if you are, for example, a streamer that actually plays games 8 hours a day. When you're on the
Hmm.
really high end of hours that you play games. So I don't think it would necessarily work for me. Uh, I think what would work best for me is just a good schedule. But the problem is I don't really need sleep that much. So for example, today, if I wanted to, I could easily stay up until 6 or 7 a.m. and not be tired and not go to bed. I don't have a problem with that. My body doesn't really mind doing that. So every time I try to try to stick to a sleep schedule. For example, go to bed every day at 11. If I go to bed at 11, I'll be in my bed awake until 5, 4 a.m. Even if I don't look at my phone. It's just my mind just never actually sort of calms down, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but it's because that it got used to
Yeah,
it, right?
exactly. Yeah, that it's
So
very
so
true. But
so I think it's the same as when you come off of drugs,
hmm
Obviously during the first like few
yeah,
weeks you
adjustment period kind of.
yeah, yeah, you're gonna like feel that you need the drug and
hmm
you can't sleep or anything, but after a while,
Yeah,
your sleeping cycle just gets too regular.
it's true.
So
Because what I always notice is when I went on vacation or holiday, you go out of your routine. You go to somewhere completely new, and I usually,
yeah.
stay in a hotel, and then you go to bed at 11, and then you wake up at 7, and that's your schedule because you have things planned during the day. You want to have a nice breakfast. You want to enjoy the most of the time that you have there outside another your hotel room, and because you're doing all these things during the day, you're very tired at evening. So I don't have any problem sleeping. So I know that I sort of can do it, but I will have to do a lot of stuff during the daytime to really tire myself out and stick to the schedule. And always when I come home from my holidays, I stick to the schedule for about like 5 days until I'm back to just playing games during the night again. So
Yeah, yeah, I
I,
see. Yeah.
it's yeah, but it's funny though, because like I said, I'm very aware of it and I know what I could do, but maybe someday when I'm smart and grown up. The worst thing about it though is that my girlfriend, she has a very, very strict sleeping schedule that she sticks to. Because at like 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening, she's very tired and she could easily just close her eyes and within 5 minutes she's just like a brick. She just falls asleep, and she wakes.
like
Yeah,
a
and she wake.
like a log.
Yeah, like a log. There's just nothing left. And then in the morning at 8 a.m. she wakes up and she's energized and awake and hyped, and I'm still just a dead, stinking body until 11 a.m. because I slept very late. So it's super frustrating for me that whenever she sleeps here, she just turns around, closes her eyes, and she's gone. And then I'm there like, well, I'll meet you in Dreamland in about 3 hours. I'll see you there.
If not five.
Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty funny, the contrast. So my quarantine got a bit easier actually, cause I got a cat.
Really?
Yes, yes. It actually already was my cat, sort of. When I lived back with my mom still, we had two cats. A holy Burman, like a very small, white, fluffy, blue-eyed cat, and a ragdoll cat. And the ragdoll is this giant, floofy, cloudy mess of white fluff, and we actually got those cats from someone else that had to move and they had some trouble breathing with all the fluffy hairs and stuff, so they had to get rid of them. So we got really lucky with two very beautiful cats for very cheap money. And we got them when they were about 4, I think, and back home, they were my babies, my cutest little cats. And then eventually I went to study and I moved out of the house. So I moved away from my cats as well, which was kind of sad. But, I still got to go to my mom's house sometimes and see them there. But now, like a year later, nowadays, my mom is moving. And she's moving to a new house. And she's moving in with her boyfriend. And he sort of has sometimes an allergic reaction to all the hair. So she can't really keep them. So what we tried is maybe it was he had problem with one specific cat, maybe Amy the ragdoll or Kira the holy Burman, but it turned out it wasn't necessarily one of the cats, but it was mostly when the two cats were together, when there were just too many hairs. So we decided that I got to pick one cat that I could just keep, and then they'll keep the other cat. So what we eventually landed on was they kept Amy, the big fluffy ragdoll, because she loves to go outside and run and stuff like that. And I got Kira because Kira was the smaller one and she was never a fan of outside. And I live in a studio apartment, so I don't really have anywhere she could go outside. But she loves being inside and she's enjoying her time here. And it makes quarantine so much easier to just have like a little friend in your home, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So yeah, that makes me a bit happier now. Waking up
Yeah,
with a
I
little
mean,
fluffy message of
it's
feet.
really interesting that actually I never had any animal
Really?
or any pet. Um,
No dogs, no cats,
yeah,
no
just
hamsters.
do no nothing. Like
Hmm.
yeah, my mother never liked. I mean, okay, she likes these animals or pets, but
Yeah.
she doesn't want to like clean after them, you
Mm.
know.
Yeah, the
So
responsibility and stuff.
yeah, so I mean, she always had, like lots of things to do. So she was like, yeah, rather not to
So
get like
you were.
one more thing.
Yeah, I get that. Of course,
Yeah.
But so you never grew up with a pet or anything.
Mm-mm.
That's funny, man.
No, so for me it's also really weird. I also don't really like to like pet these
No, I
animals, you
get it.
know.
It's something you grow up with or you don't. And if you don't, you don't. I get that there's not as much appeal in it. It's you look at it more objectively, like it's just a mess. You got to clean up and feed it and all this stuff. But I always grew up with pets, man. I first had a cat, and then we had a dog for like 13 years, and then I had a guinea pig. Then we had another dog for 2 years, but that didn't work out, so we had to return him. And then these two cats. So I've already always had cats and pets and animals and stuff, and I love animals and pets. So, but I get it, when you're not really grown up with them, that they're more of a nuisance than something that adds value or something, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
But it's
true.
always so strange for me that when I see like a cute animal or something, like a baby goat, and it's so cute, and then you're with someone that doesn't really, isn't necessarily, yeah,
Appreciate.
appreciate it, and you're like, but it's so cute, and he's just like, but it's just a goat, calm down. It's so fun when you can't share that enthusiasm with someone who looks at it different. It's so funny. I'm a fan of cute little animals. Same with near school, man. You have the petting zoo, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They have all these little baby sheep and baby goats, and oh man, I just love to go and check them out. That's something I enjoy to do.
Nice.
But yeah, now my quarantine gets a bit easier. What
Yeah.
about birds
All
then?
right.
Something like that. Don't you like birds?
Sorry.
What do you think about birds as pet?
Birds. I think they are even like more difficult to handle.
Because I have a friend and he has like two or three of these parakeets and they just scream all the time through the entire studio apartment and they just shit everywhere and they gnaw on his TV and clothes and they're horrible. But then he sometimes sends these videos on Snapchat, and then you're like, oh, they're kind of cute actually, and I want one. These freaking birds. Ah, well. Anyway,
All
I
right.
think we're
I
nearing
think
the end. Yeah.
yeah, we came to the end of the show.
Yes, yes. That was episode 3. And we'll see you guys next time on episode 4.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Bye bye.
Bye. Peace.